The final act of Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 kicks off with the assault on Demerium, a cemetery world that has been attacked by the forces of chaos. A cemetery world is a planet where the Imperium buries its honored dead, and given that there is only war in the grim darkness of the far future, there is a lot of honored dead. But crypts and graveyards isn't all that Demerium is home to. There's also an Adeptus Mechanicus base there, where Archmagos Luz is working on Project Aurora. Project Aurora is a mysterious initiative that some Imperial officials believe will give them an edge in their ongoing war against chaos. But our noble protagonist, Demerium Titus, doesn't agree. He's learned that the key to Project Aurora is a piece of the same power source that was at the center of all the drama in the original Space Marine game, which was ultimately used by Nemeroth to ascend into demon form. Given how that whole mess turned out on Graia, Titus thinks that the piece of the power source is too dangerous for anyone to use, and sets out to rescue Luz before the forces of chaos can get to him. This makes the whole mission incredibly important to Titus from a personal perspective. Space Marine 2 is all about Titus finding a new place for himself in the Ultramarine 2nd Company, a group he used to be the captain of. This damn power source is the reason he was suspected of being corrupted by chaos, and forced to join the Death Watch as a Black Shield. Now, it's back again, and in an effort to fully redeem himself to his chapter, he sets out to make sure that it doesn't fall into the hands of the arch enemy. So Titus, along with his battle brothers Gadriel and Chiron, drop down on Demerium and fight their way to the Mechanicus base, which really isn't a base at all, but rather a dig site. As they progress down into the depths, they discover that Demerium isn't merely a cemetery world. It's a cemetery world built on top of a tomb world. A tomb world is a planet where the Necrons, a species of ancient alien mechanical mummies, went into hibernation over 60 million years ago. The Necrons had access to all kinds of incredible technology, so it's only natural for Archmagos Luz to think he can turn it to his advantage. Natural, but incredibly dangerous. When Titus and company find Luz, it looks like he's got Project Aurora working, as he's successfully frozen all of the Chaos Space Marines who tried to attack him. Titus calls on Luz to surrender, but he refuses. He says that Project Aurora is his life's work, and even believes that Project Aurora can be used to seal the Great Rift. A somewhat recent development in 40k's lore, the Great Rift is a massive tear in reality that has essentially cut the Imperium's territory in half. It's then that Imurah, the Sorcerer Lord leading the Chaos forces, arrives. Luz uses Project Aurora to seemingly banish Imurah, but as it turns out, it was all a ruse, as Imurah reappears and steals the piece of the power source for himself, and disappears again. It's even revealed that it was Imurah who inspired Luz, and probably even Nozick, to carry on with Project Aurora despite the risks. Imurah specifically serves the chaos god Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways. He's associated with fate, sorcery, and evolution, and on top of all that, he's the galaxy's greatest 4D chess player. Most of his plans play out just like this, with good-intentioned people backing their way into doing exactly what he wanted them to do all along. Just as planned, as the meme goes. Back on the surface, the situation on Demerium has deteriorated significantly, as Imurah has used the power source to activate a Necron obelisk and open a massive warp rift, allowing him to bring scores of demons to the planet. Determined to stop the Chaos Sorcerer, the Ultramarines attempt to reach the obelisk, but their advance is halted by Imurah's forces. In a seminal moment for the former captain, it's Titus who raises the fallen banner of the 2nd Company as Zangors and Rupert Marines overwhelm them. After all this time, after his service in the Death Watch as a Black Shield and working to regain the trust of his battle brothers once again, he's back with his company, and has the honor of holding one of their most sacred relics in what it appears might be their final moments. But fortunately, Titus's faith is rewarded with the sudden arrival of Marinus Calgar, chapter master of the Ultramarines. Calgar is known as Papa Smurf in some corners of the 40k community, and is easily recognizable thanks to his dual power fists with bolters attached to them called the Gauntlets of Ultramar. He's a real ass kicker, and along with his honor guard, they rescue the Second Company from certain death. Titus, Gadriel, and Chiron then meet with Captain Acheran and Calgar. Based on some of Archmagos Luz's final words, Gadriel believes that by turning the 3 obelisks that lead up to the big one, they might be able to shut down the warp rift. Titus supports Gadriel's plan, and Calgar gives the big Papa Smurf okay. And with that, the Ultramarine Second Company launches their attack on the obelisk. Titus's team personally turns 2 of the obelisks, and it works as intended, closing the warp rift and weakening the Changer of Ways, a greater demon of Tzeentch that came through it. From there, the Ultramarines attempt to finish off what remains of Imurah's forces. It's then that the Sorcerer Lord escapes through a portal of his own, but not before unleashing some time-slowing shenanigans that affects everyone except for Calgar and Titus's squad. Calgar gives chase, and Titus follows. Imurah's portal leads into the Immaterium, better known as the Warp, the nonsensical and dangerous realm that serves as the big bachelor pad for the Chaos Gods. It's there, during a boss fight with him and his Changer of Ways, that Imurah reveals the full scope of his plan. He did all of this, targeting Titus, going after the power source, and opening the warp gate to get his revenge on Calgar, who cast him into the warp 2 centuries ago. Again, seems like a lot of effort to go through to get just one guy, but that's how it goes with Tzeentch. After getting the best of the Sorcerer Lord and his big blue bird, Titus and his boys fight through some illusions and reunite with Calgar. Together, they charge Imurah one last time, and as Calgar, Chiron, and Gadriel distract the Sorcerer Lord, Titus destroys the power source, reducing the puppet of Tzeentch to nothing but chaos chunks. Back in real space, as the sun rises over Demerium, Titus wakes up to rejoin the Second Company, who have emerged victorious thanks to his valiant efforts. Later, back on the battle barge, Titus is awarded with the Laurels of Victory, an honor badge given to Space Marines whose incredible efforts in combat ensured an Imperial victory. For you laymen out there, you can think of it as the 40k version of the Medal of Honor, if you'd like. Calgar personally congratulates Titus, and then invites him to join him for an unknown mission. Much like with the raising of the flag, this is a huge moment for Titus, and not just because he received the laurels. It was Calgar who sent Titus to the Death Watch, Calgar who made the call to bring Titus back as a Primaris, and Calgar who took Titus's message seriously enough to come to Demerium personally. He believed in Titus, and Titus repaid that belief with a massive win for the Imperium. And now, the former captain is once again a distinguished member of his old company. But unfortunately for Titus, there are still members of the Second who are unwilling to forget the past. Before boarding Calgar's Thunderhawk, the chaplain who's been busting Titus's chops throughout the game does so one more time, saying that the suspicion of corruption never fades, and that he'll be keeping a close watch on him. The chaplain then removes his helmet, revealing his true identity: Leandros, Titus's former squad mate, who reported him to the Inquisition in the first place. The two battle brothers turned rivals then join their chapter master, and the game ends. Where the Space Marine franchise goes from here is anyone's guess. In the era Indominus, 40k's current lore arc, there's no shortage of enemies for the Imperium to fight. And with the recently returned Guilliman taking up most of the spotlight, it sort of frees up Calgar to lead Titus on any number of missions. Necrons obviously were teased, but never actually showed up, so they could be in the works for a sequel or a DLC down the line. But personally, I suspect some big stuff from Leandros. Oftentimes, it's the guy who's so willing to accuse everyone else of heresy who ends up being a heretic himself. So I wouldn't be surprised if Leandros is hiding more skeletons in his closet than just the one on his helmet. Or maybe regaining his trust will be the next great task in Titus's redemption arc. Either way, I came away from Space Marine 2 very impressed, and I can't wait to see what happens next in Saber Interactive's take on the grim darkness of the far future. Thanks for watching. Huge thanks to Moonlapse Piano, whose covers from the Armored Core 6 soundtrack I used for this video. To check out all of his music, just follow the links down below in the description box. Big shout out to all my YouTube channel members and Patreon subscribers, including James Pruitt, Corey Matson, Gustavo Balabi, Little Caesar, Reed, Pathonian, and Faith G, who get early access to all of my videos thanks to donations of $5 to $10 a month. See you guys next time.